Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're starting a new Let's Talk Lore mini-series covering the life of Wang Yun, titled The Man Who Almost Saved the Han. And in this first episode, we'll focus largely on his family background, upbringing, and his government service before Dongzhuo's takeover. Now, born in the year 137, Wang Yun will go on to become the founding member of the illustrious gentry clan that will be collectively referred to in history as the Wang clan of Taiyuan. But at the time of his birth, his clan, well respected, was just a middle-of-the-pack gentry clan with a long history of participation in the imperial court politics, but no individual managed to climb to the top. But regardless, being born in such a gentry clan afforded Wang Yun an unmatched education, as he would become proficient with most Confucian texts before the age of 10. Yet unsatisfied with the future of becoming a scholar, and influenced by the fact that his hometown of Taiyuan sat inside the turbulent frontier Bin province, the young Wang Yun started to train with swords and spears as he envisioned himself becoming famous Han generals of the past, such as Wei Qing and Huo Qubing, who both played key roles in defeating the Xiongnu. And by the time Wang Yun had come of age, he was already quite famous amongst his peers for being a talent of both the martial and civil ways. Combined with opportunities afforded to him by his clan to befriend the people in power, and his willingness to interact with those born beneath him, Wang Yun became the perfect candidate for a local commandery level position, where he would immediately make a name for himself by publicly executing a local eunuch official named Zhao Jin, who had committed all sorts of crimes prior to Wang Yun's appointment, knowing that local officials would be too scared of his imperial court connections to do anything about them. Yet the young Wang Yun didn't care, as he proclaimed that laws apply the same to everyone, including princes. So why should there be an exception for a mere eunuch? As he immediately ordered for Zhao Jin's arrest, and with his crime being public knowledge, Wang Yun didn't even give him a trial, as he was dragged out straight to the public market in the eastern parts of the town and executed on the spot. This move no doubt made Wang Yun famous and popular amongst the people, but it did carry a bit of risk, as the court politics during this period of the Han Dynasty was largely controlled by the eunuchs and corruption ran rampant. Luckily, the death of a minor eunuch official didn't cause any direct backlash for Wang Yun, but his righteous nature will soon get him into trouble with his boss. At this time, the buying and selling of government jobs was a commonplace occurrence, and when Wang Yun heard that one of his childhood neighbors, a well-known local thug named Lu Fo, had bought a job from the local administrator Wang Qiu, he went directly to Wang Qiu and publicly exposed his wrongdoing. Now, as Wang Qiu was his boss, it wouldn't take long for Wang Yun to end up in prison, as Wang Qiu had plans to frame him with a crime and kill him. Luckily, the prefect of the Bin province, Deng Sheng, was a just official and a fan of Wang Yun, as he would race to make his way to Taiyuan to save Wang Yun before his execution, as he would be able to use his position to secure Wang Yun's release. But of course, Wang Yun can't go back to his old job anymore, but luckily, Deng Sheng offered him a better one as his retainer, or 从事. Now, officially speaking, 从事 is a low-ranking job, but being the 从事 for the prefect, which is a provincial level official, definitely gave Wang Yun more exposure to the imperial court, as after many years of service working under Deng Sheng, in 184, a 47 years old Wang Yun would finally receive an official court summon to join the imperial court, not from just one of the Grand Excellency positions, but from all three. In the end, Wang Yun would travel to the capital to work under Gao Di, who was the Grand Excellency of the masses. But for those who are familiar with Three Kingdoms history, you might remember that 184 was a special year, as this was the year of the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So not long after being transferred from a regional post to the imperial court, Wang Yun got the chance to live out his childhood dream of becoming a general, as the court would soon reassign him as the new prefect of the Yu province and transfer over command of a group of government forces so that he may go aid General Huang Fusong and Zhu Jun to put down the rebels in the province. Now, the final battle in Yinchuan would see the government forces score a grand victory, as this was also where Cao Cao would see his first combat as the commander of the imperial cavalry forces. And as a little added trivia, Wang Yun had Kong Rong serving as his 从事 in this army as well. More importantly, at the end of the battle, as the government forces were processing the over 100,000 surrendered rebel forces, the meticulous Wang Yun discovered a batch of letters from a house guest of Zhang Rang, who was the co-head of the 10 eunuchs. Not only were the letters written by Zhang Rang's house guests, the contents of the letters suggest that Zhang Rang knew about the rebellions and was even indirectly involved in the original Yellow Turban plot to revolt inside the capital city of Luoyang. This was important evidence of treason, and being the righteous person that he was, and the fact that he sides with the Gentry clan scholars, Wang Yun sent these letters directly to the imperial court, believing that he had found the evidence necessary to finally bring down the 10 eunuchs. But instead, even though the emperor was initially furious, Zhang Rang and the other eunuchs were quickly able to spin the evidence as fabricated by the scholars who wanted to see them gone, as they would profess their undying loyalty to the emperor. And thus, with the Yellow Turban Rebellion ending almost as quickly as it started, the emperor decided to end the investigation as life returned to normal. While Zhang Rang was spared, Wang Yun would not be so lucky, as Zhang Rang would remember this, and in 185, Wang Yun would be framed and imprisoned. But fate would have it that with the official end of the Yellow Turban Rebellion in the same year, a grand pardon was granted nationwide, as Wang Yun would not only be released, but also get his former position back. Now, as a side note, this would be the same pardon that would also see Dong Zhuo's release and return to a government post following his poor performance leading the army forces against the Yellow Turbans. But unlike Dong Zhuo, Wang Yun was still on Zhang Rang's bad side, as not 10 days after being freed, Wang Yun would be framed again for a different crime, as he found himself right back in prison. Now, there were plenty of officials at court who knew of Wang Yun's innocence, and many even tried to help, as the new Grand Excellency of the masses, Yang Ci, went to prison to try to convince Wang Yun to apologize to Zhang Rang, as without Zhang Rang's forgiveness, the only fate that would await him would be death. But Wang Yun refused out of principle, and not long after, he would be placed on a trial and sentenced to death. Luckily, Yang Ci didn't give up on him, as he, alongside Grand General He Jin and Grand Commandant Yuan Wei, all would plead for Wang Yun's life in front of the emperor, who then proceeded to spare him from death as he was given a life imprisonment instead. Then 2 years later, in 187, during another round of grand pardon, Wang Yun would be freed. But because of Zhang Rang's meddling, Wang Yun's name disappeared from the pardon list in the last minute. Thankfully, Yang Ci, He Jin, and Yuan Wei once again petitioned the emperor directly, and this time, Wang Yun was finally freed. Now a commoner, Wang Yun knew that if he stayed in the capital, the eunuchs would continue to come after him. So he would be forced to change his name as he looked to a new life away from the capital, as he settled down in an area between Henei and Chenliu to live out his days as a regular farmer. But of course, chaos is a ladder, and Wang Yun will eventually get his chance to climb it, as we will end our first episode here and come back next time to look at how Dongzhuo's takeover would give Wang Yun a second chance at life in the imperial court. So hopefully you all enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!